Ladies and gentlemen, you look wonderful tonight. I look around this evening and I see very beautiful people, only beautiful people. I think those who are not beautiful did not come to this event, but everyone looks awesome this evening. Yeah, you're very, very welcome. I hope you're enjoying your evening so far. My name is Naomi Kabarunji, and this is Water Aid. And as you take your seats and get comfortable, in the house we have Kwela live. They will be entertaining us. In the house we have each other from very important places that I'll tell you about. And in the house we have brains and we have power. So we're going to interact. We are going to connect, we're going to network, and it's going to be a very awesome evening, I'm sure. By the time we are done, Water Aid Uganda will have showed us the direction we're going in the next 15 years. And will have told us why it's very important to prioritize water, sanitation, and hygiene for national development. That is why we are here, ladies and gentlemen. Kwela, as soon as you're ready, we'll give these beautiful people a sound and a beat to warm them up, and then we'll get started. But as we get settled, I hope you came with your gadgets, and if you did, I just would like to let you know that we are live all over the world. We are tweeting with the hashtag #WashStrategyUG. I repeat, Wash Strategy UG. Some of you have already been sending awesome messages. Some of you have already been tweeting, and it's live on the screen, so you can actually see what you are saying. If you're not yet saying anything, please join in already and start telling the world why WASH is very important. WASH Strategy UG is the hashtag NTV Uganda, and at Water Aid, please follow us on Facebook. We are live. In a little while, we'll probably also be joined by NTV Uganda, and we will be able to elaborate a number of things to the rest of the world. For your internet, the password is ZEE3, capital ZEE3. That's the password for your internet. Kwela Band, please warm the floor, and then we'll get started. Thank you very much. present tonight, the private sector, corporate organizations, water aid, staff of water aid from all over the world, our invited guests, the media, ladies and gentlemen. You're indeed very, very welcome. We thank you for honoring our invitation. We've taken time to organize this day. We've thought through what we wanted to do the next 15 years. And we thank you for having believed with us and come here tonight to listen to us dream, and in dreaming with us, helping us to achieve what we have set out to achieve. We therefore, without much ado, would like to welcome you indeed and to let you know really what we are up to the next 15 years. I therefore would like to ask that for the guests who are still not yet seated, kindly take your seats as I invite one of our own, Spera Athaire. Spera Athaire is also the head of strategy development at Water Aid Uganda, and she's going to welcome us and lead us into the show, really. Spera, you're welcome. Spera will also introduce to us our keynote speaker this evening. Welcome, Spera. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Naomi, our MC tonight. You're all invited, welcome to this auspicious occasion. The guest of honor, the EU ambassador, representatives from the different ministries, members of parliament, protocol observed. I take this opportunity to welcome you officially to this launch of our strategy as Water Aid Uganda. This is a strategy that we have taken time developing over the last couple of months. It has taken us some time, but we are proud that we are here today, and we are proud of the product that we have. I'm sure many of you already received in your packs. It has been a journey of reflection, looking back where we have been and what we have done in the last 30 years in Uganda, coming to 35 years, I think, this year. Really drawing lessons from our work, lessons from our partnerships and engagements we have had over the last couple of years, learning from the people that we have worked with and impacted on directly through our programming, but also learning from other actors like government, civil society, the private sector. We have also taken time to reflect on the impact that we have caused over time by directly delivering water, sanitation, and hygiene, but also collaborating with many of you who are here tonight to influence change at different levels, including policy change at national level, as well as contributing to changes in practice. We've taken time to understand the environment within which we operate, to understand the politics of the country, to understand the sector and where it is and where it needs to be. And we are glad that through this process, we've been able to consult many of you who are here tonight to inform this, to challenge us, so that we're able to think creatively how we can work together to move the sector forward. And we are glad that through your consultation, we've been able to develop this strategy that we are launching tonight. So really, I take this opportunity to thank you once again for all your contributions and the collaborations we've had over the years, but also for honoring our invitation and coming here tonight to celebrate with us, but also to understand and be able to walk the journey that we propose to take to make sure that we address many issues that are still affecting the sector. And most importantly, many people who are affected, especially women and girls, people in hard-to-reach areas that are difficult to serve, and therefore requiring that there is concerted effort to be able to reach them. So really we look forward to working with you, collaborating with you. We look forward to more engagements. This is the beginning of a journey that we've started, and we believe it is not going to end here tonight. This is just the start, and we're looking forward to great collaboration from all of you. I would like to conclude and move to the next part of why I'm here by talking a little bit of a personal story. It will take maybe a second. When I was a young child, maybe about 6 years, I had an incident going to fetch water in an open well. And what happened is that I fell in the well. Yeah, because I was hanging over the log. And because I was holding a jerry can, it tilted. So I survived because I had elders that were surrounding me. But I really wonder how many young girls, young boys survive such situations. You imagine if I was alone, that would have been the end of me, and I wouldn't be here tonight speaking to you. So I call upon everyone who is here tonight to understand the issues that affect the Ugandans, the ordinary Ugandans, who still lack access to water and sanitation. So let's work together to achieve the change that we need to see. And as I conclude, I would like to take this opportunity to invite Dr. Patrick Birungi, who is going to give us a keynote speech. And this speech is going to take us a little more detail in terms of where the country is heading, link it to the Vision 2040 that we have as a country, the National Development Plan, and how the sectors and the different stakeholders here, plus water aid, is responding or should actually be responding to address the challenges that we still face in the sector. Dr. Patrick Birungi, I take this opportunity to once again invite you. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Patrick Birungi, as you've heard. I work with the National Planning Authority, and in that office I serve as the Director in charge of planning. I will share a bit of my thoughts from the planning point of view and how we really view this whole agenda. So to start formally, Honorable Minister representing the Prime Minister, Honorable Ministers present, Honorable Members of Parliament, development partners, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure really to speak at this very key occasion and share a little bit on what we think of WASH in the overall planning framework. So we can run quickly. By the way, when I looked at the agenda or the program, it was giving me a lot of time, but for sure I won't be able to speak for all that time. I will try my level best to keep it as short as possible, but maybe a little more pushing so that it excites discussion. So I will give some brief introduction, the planning context of WASH in Uganda, the status, the general WASH challenges, and of course I'm not an expert in this area. I'm sure the experts are seated here. We can always improve the discussion as we go along. And then I will highlight existing opportunities to improve national WASH conditions. And then finally, I will talk about the role of non-state actors and conclude. Water and sanitation and hygiene is one of the prerequisites for a healthy and economically productive population. Later on, I will be telling you that many people think certain variables were not adequately captured, but from the planning perspective, we look at this sector as a key sector in terms of having the right human capital for development purposes. Without a healthy population, then you don't have that labor that will give you an edge in productivity and pushing the economy to the next level. As we aspire to move to middle income status, and again, definitional issues have come up here, especially in the country, on what kind of middle income status are we talking about. Now, you can become a middle income country when the majority of the population is not with you. And this has happened especially in countries that are oil producing, or those countries where the extractive industry drives the growth. So it is possible we can move in that direction. But for the Ugandan situation, as we did the macro models at the time, we looked at a comprehensive development of an individual. So it's not only per capita income, but also access to health, access to education and skills, and so that we look at real transformation of the person. And that's what we capture in the National Development Plan. A productive population is one of the steps Uganda intends to capitalize on to achieve socioeconomic transformation. If we don't have that, then we are lying ourselves. Now, development planning at national and local government levels presents a key entry for WASH actors to help us achieve that productive population. And it provides an environment where you and me can make our strategies come to a common understanding. And therefore, my job is to convince as many institutions, actors, Ugandans, to come together for a common good. In this case, can we bring the WASH thoughts of individual institutions seated here towards a common good of attaining a certain development status that the country needs. From the planning context, on the next slide, the vision is about a transformative agenda. The Sustainable Development Goals are about a transformative agenda. What role can WASH play in this transformative agenda is the question we are here to discuss today. And later on, I will say what maybe needs to be done more so that all of us move in the same direction. I'm just talking about the vision and the NDP in a bigger planning framework, that we have the vision, and then we are supposed to be having the national development plans that implement the vision. So the further we go, we can analyze short to medium or long-term plans as well, and make sure that we align properly. So my job today is to convince the actors here that we align our strategic plans to the national vision, to the national picture that I will be sharing with you shortly. And I will make a short comment along the way on the strategic plan that we are going to launch today. Honorable Minister, ladies and gentlemen, in the Vision 2040, like I mentioned, it's all about transformation, and like I mentioned, wash conditions are very critical in the transformation agenda. We did some bit of data searching at that time. About 86% of the households in Uganda still used pit latrines. But the most interesting statistic is those who use toilets without hand washing facilities. I will talk about the culture as well. We have challenges with the culture as well, that even when the facilities, we go in, we avoid the taps, and we go out. The next thing, you are shaking people, and you are very excited, but maybe putting everybody at risk. Only 8% had washing facilities with both water and soap. So we did some bit of data searching on WASH to see what was the situation at the time, because we used earlier information. The target for the vision is to make sure that we have access to safe piped water for all Ugandans and modern facilities by 2040. When we go to the NDP2, on the next slide, WASH was identified as a key driver to human capital development. So the focus of the NDP is on the ATMs. The ATMs where you get the money should be agriculture, tourism, and minerals, oil and gas. However, the concept, the whole idea is that for you to exploit these resources efficiently for the benefit of the country, you actually need to invest in key fundamentals. And two fundamentals were therefore selected. The first fundamental being infrastructure, and the second being human capital development. And WASH was identified as a key driver for human capital development. The intention is to increase water supply coverage in rural areas from 65% to 79%, while ensuring that at least each village has a clean and safe water source. We've had also definitional challenges on what clean and safe water sources are, and therefore we always have many contradicting statistics depending on what one is measuring. Whether you want to use tapped water as clean and safe, or a combination of different sources that are considered clean and safe. To increase the urban water supply from 77% to 95%, I saw colleagues from National Water here. They can tell us what is happening in the different places, and 100% for National Water and Sewerage Corporation towns. Whereas we've noted and we appreciate the effort of National Water and Sewerage Corporation in reaching out to so many other urban centers, we also appreciate that they also need to do a little more where they are coming from, so that access, even in areas just in Wakiso or whatever, is as good as in the central areas of Kampala, to increase and ensure that access and the quality of water is up to the point. We also need to increase sewerage coverage to 30% in towns with population greater than 15,000. We have a problem of sewerage coverage. You can imagine the sewerage system for Nakasero was planned and put in place so many years ago. And the idea was a residential setting. Today, you find so many skyscrapers coming up the hill without investment in making sure that the system is also improved to accommodate the increasing demand for the services. So we have a bit of challenges that sometimes the planning is a bit lagging behind, or lagging behind the changes in the environment in which we operate. There has been remarkable progress, though still a number of changes. We can see we are really moving towards the targets throughout. But like I mentioned, definitional issues can be sorted out for us to be able to harmonize our different data sets and representations. But also important to note that even where we have good performance, these are national averages. The situation varies significantly in different parts of this country, depending on the ability to invest in the infrastructure and other resources, but also depending on certain cultural limitations that I will highlight later on. Now, when we look at inclusiveness and gender sensitivity on the next, that's the slide, it's also clear that there has been an improvement in the situation to the extent that it's very important on this note. Someone has already given us a situation when he was a young girl, how she fell in a well and so on. Now, the pressure on the girl child, the pressure on the females in search for water is extremely bad. But with access, this pressure is being moderated, and therefore there can be easy access for the women, reduce the time of search for water, and so on. However, there are other schools of thought in the whole equation that highlight that in some of the rural settings and some of the cultures, because the woman is limited in going out, in interfacing with other colleagues, they use that as an opportunity to have a conversation, to chat, to relax, as opposed to a nearby source. As a result of that, some water points have been distributed, but some of the inhabitants of the area tend to walk longer distances in search of that leisure time to have a chat. So whatever interventions we do, we should do them well understanding the community in which we operate to make sure we are on the right track. But all in all, at least I've been looking at a UNICEF report on equity and gender. We can see that there is great improvement across the country, though some regions are still lagging behind in that area. Some of the challenges include rapid population growth resulting into congested and informal settlements. It becomes very difficult if you go to Katanga, or if people seated in this environment here have chances of going to our brothers and sisters in these kind of settlements to supply the services. It's pretty difficult. Whatever service, whether it is policing service, water, electricity, and others, becomes pretty difficult. But therefore, this calls for quick thoughts about physical planning. It calls for quick thoughts about enforcing service delivery by our key institutions. Poor protection of water resources, pollution and depletion of water resources is a major challenge. You can imagine, because we are eating up the entire wetland, which acts as a buffer to Lake Victoria, it would mean that national water would have to first invest in cleaning and then supply because of the levels of pollution. The levels of investment are too high, and yet we could avert these from the source as opposed to at the point of water supply systems. We have weak enforcement of existing laws and regulations. I was told that for you to pump water out of a wetland, you need a license from the Ministry of Water. But for sure, the capacity to oversee the entire water system in the country is quite limited. And as a result, you find thousands of us pumping water, dipping boreholes and so on without these licenses. There has been no good analysis to show the extent of the actions that we take as individuals on the entire water resource quality and reservation for the future. We have absence of a clear regulation mechanism for water pricing. I stand to be corrected, but to enhance the equity that we are talking about, I think we need to strengthen the regulation mechanism for water pricing in this country. Unlike other utilities where we have responsible institutions strengthened to ensure the pricing reflects the needs of the different groups of the population, in water, I'm not very sure whether we have that area very strengthened to help the poor to access water at the right prices. We have low prioritization of sanitation and hygiene at all levels, and here it goes to both public and private sector. Even us as individuals within our own home environment, we do not have a very clear, we do not have clear prioritization for sanitation and hygiene, even in our own homes. At government level, it becomes much more difficult if you look at the budget allocations to the water and sanitation sector remains very small. Then we have poor cultural sanitation practices. This one is a killer, that even if you take a service, unless you work with the population, you mobilize the population to change their mindset to use these services, you are likely not to get the results that you want. In some populations, they will tell you that if you're a pregnant mother, you cannot use a pit latrine. Okay? So these kind of mindsets need to be worked on, and as I will mention shortly, this is where non-state actors can play a key role and help us change mindsets. On existing opportunities to improve WASH in Uganda, I think we have a lot of potential that we can tap into. One, from the international, domestic, and also from the international arena, if there is a discussion about WASH. And the SDGs, especially SDG 6, is very clear on availability and access to clean water and sanitation for all by 2030. So we can dive into this discussion and see how we can make this work for our own environment and advantage. the untapped potential of the private sector and civil society organization is very clear. Now, as government, we are not very good at reaching to the communities. The civil society have a better hand in this case. If we can focus our resources to reach as as many people as we can, then it would be on the right track. There are many local, regional, and global partnerships and initiatives on WASH. We should take advantage of those, but as a country, I think we are not doing enough to fully take advantage of existing opportunities in these partnerships. We've been talking a lot about determinants of health. When we did an analysis on determinants of health, it is possible that if we went for preventive health care delivery system, it would be much better than waiting for someone to go to the clinic. And WASH plays a critical role in the fight of many of the diseases that we suffer, or our population suffers in this country. But now there is that campaign, there is that preventive healthcare delivery system that is ongoing from the public health perspective. This is an opportunity that we should take on and be able to deliver WASH initiatives, but at the same time saving us a huge budget in the health sector. You probably know that as the public sector, we are now moving away from output-based budgeting to program-based budgeting in the country. To put it right, maybe an example would be better. In education sector, originally our budgeting process has been how many classrooms have you built? So the output is the classroom or the classroom block. In the program budgeting, we'll be looking more at educational outcomes. If this approach takes full root and is understood across sectors, then it gives us an opportunity to say the output, the educational output in terms of, say, the performance of children and so on, cannot be a function of classroom and teacher only, but also WASH facilities. And this way, we should be able to market the WASH agenda and be able to take advantage of that key innovation. On the role of non-state actors, I guess I've already mentioned some of what I'm going to say, but at the Planning Authority, we are proud. We've been in association with WaterAid for some time. They provided financial support and helped us to disseminate the planning guidelines and mainstreaming WASH initiatives, both in the National Development Plan, but also in the district development plans. We've also had a lot of interaction with WaterAid in participating in international agenda, and we've worked closely with them to deliver, to achieve some of these capacity building initiatives. We need serious sensitization programs, and the civil society, like I mentioned, you play a critical role here to help government. We need to partner with government in WASH resource mobilization, construction, and maintenance of WASH facilities. In government, you know, we are interested in putting up structures, in putting up systems, but the benefits of those systems is usually in the way they are managed to the tail end. And civil society can play a critical role to help us in this agenda. We need to integrate NDP2 WASH objectives and interventions in other strategies and agenda. This is, I was telling my colleagues that one of my biggest struggle is to make sure that everyone who plans, everyone who launches a strategic plan tries to deliver the national agenda as stated in the National Development Plan. That means when after the launch of this good strategic plan, I have to sit again with the water aid people so that we agree what we are going to implement over the next 5 years, so that we are in harmony, maybe the next 3 years left, so that we are in harmony in our planning system, because ultimately our goal is the same by 2030. So how do we walk the journey is a key area that we want to walk together. We want you to organize various stakeholders to build partnerships and identify existing gaps for non-state actors, and then hold government accountable on its commitments. So the civil society can play a critical role in holding us, government, accountable for our commitments. In conclusion, addressing WASH issues at all levels is one of the ways of implementing the preventive medicine strategy from the public health perspective. This is very critical. It will save this country lots of resources than a facility-based healthcare system. We need water pricing should reflect the diversity of needs and the status of various sections of the populace. So this is again very critical if we want availability and access for every Ugandan in this area. We need to build partnerships in addressing WASH challenges, especially in areas with cultural rigidities. So we have to address some of these challenges. Special attention should be paid to appropriate WASH technologies for women and girls and the people with disabilities. Achievement of national goals is highly linked to ensuring WASH for all. I thank you very much for listening, and basically those are the few thoughts that I could share at the moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you indeed, Dr. Patrick Birungi. Dr. Patrick Birungi is the Director of Planning and Development at the National Planning Authority, and as you have heard, he actually carries the burden of the Vision 2040 on his shoulders day and night. He speaks so passionately about things to do 2040. And so, Patrick, I can tell you that I'm looking forward. I hope that in 2040 I will be alive and well. There's a man who beats my understanding in staying alive and well. This man is a journalist. He's a seasoned journalist in Uganda. He's been here, he's been around for as long as I can remember. And for as long as I can remember, he's been speaking, I could say shouting, but sometimes I fear to say that because then I would be holding on to his freedom of speech. This man is also a founder of the Independent magazine, a current news magazine. He's seasoned, as I told you. He has bagged a number of international journalism awards, and he's believed to be among the top most 100 global thinkers. Can you believe that? Andrew Mwenda, if you would, could you please come and share with us some of your global thoughts about WASH in development, especially picking on what Dr. Birungi has said to us, holding him accountable as the media should.
Thank you very much, Naomi. First of all, let me thank WaterAid for making the big mistake or the blunder of inviting an old man of 104 years to discuss a presentation by Patrick. Patrick and I must have been together at Nyakasura School. Am I correct? I was an old man in the school at that time. A teacher for him was a student. This is in the early 1980s, before any one of you here was born. And me, I was born in 1912. Anyhow, I have very little time to be here to discuss this presentation. I'm not an expert on water in any shape or form, but I sometimes pretend to understand matters of development in a poor country. So my discussion of his presentation is going to be focused on that. First, I must say, like every poor country, we have very poor knowledge of ourselves. Whenever we want to know about ourselves, we in Africa, we go to Europe and North America to study who we are, what we want, what we need. Now you can imagine if the Americans were coming to Uganda and studying in Luganda, having to learn Luganda first in order to understand the American system of government, how Obama governs, how Trump was elected. You can see how devastating that can be. But that is the situation in Africa. So we do not know what we want. But USAID, again, an American institution, funded a project in West Nile to try to understand what do people really want. How can we use the democratic institutions we have, the LC system, to hold officials accountable in matters of the delivery of public goods and services, especially health and education too. So they created a system where citizens could use SMS, free SMS, to text messages about problems in their schools and health institutions, and people were texting messages about absence of water, a broken pipe, a broken borehole. So you clearly realize that the project which sought to study the delivery of health and education, that people should complain to their local officials, LC officials, about problems in health centers and schools. 80% of the complaints that were coherent and understandable were about water. Can you believe that? Which shows you that our obsession with health and education is disarticulated from the realities of our people too. If you guys go on Google, there is an animal called Google. When you slaughter it, inside it there is meat, and that meat is very delicious. You can slaughter this animal called Google and look inside it about another animal called a sub-animal, or a piece of meat called Gallup. Gallup is the world's leading polling agency. It's based in America. They go to poor countries polling, what do poor people need? I'm telling you, this education and health come low. Most people always complain about jobs. Again, showing you that the government policy in our countries does not reflect a theoretical ideal rather than practical need. So, if you look at a matter like water, water is such a basic need. Even before you eat food, you need to drink water. You need to use it to cook. You need to use it to wash your hands. You need to use it to bathe. Practically every single thing around you is water. And I don't think that most governments in poor countries prioritize water. Though I am inclined to think that the government of Uganda, with all its corruption and incompetence, seems to have an interest in water. That is what surprises me. First, the Uganda National Water and Sewerage Corporation, over the last 3 years, has consistently won an award as the best water utility in Africa. Did you guys know that? In Uganda, we hate to hear it. When we hear that, because the credit may go to Museveni, although Museveni has nothing to do, he has very little to do with what is happening in national water. And why is water important for our national planning? If you look at the HDIs, Human Development Indices, Uganda, like any other poor country, scores badly, but it scores within the parameters of its per capita income, because per capita income gives you an indication of per capita revenue. Per capita revenue gives you an indication of per capita spending, and how much you spend on anything has powerful implications on the quality of services that you get. It's not true that you can spend $100 per person per year and get the same quality of public goods and services as a country that spends $10,000. I'll give you an example. This financial year, Uganda has a budget of 6.2 billion divided by 38 million people. You get $162 per person. The United States has a budget of $7 trillion, 320 million people. You get per capita spending of $22,000, 250. I can tell you there is no way Uganda can have as good services as the United States. So whenever we're discussing our services, we should be very clear that we are a poor country. We just cannot afford to provide a large basket of public goods and services for all our citizens, and therefore we must prioritize. So what should we prioritize? In our Human Development Index is one of the biggest factors there, of course, is life expectancy. In Uganda, it is about 63.5 years. In rich countries, you will find it at 80 years. In fact, in the HDI, they put at 85. But the biggest cause of low life expectancy in poor countries is child and infant mortality. Infant death before the first year, and of course, child mortality is before 5 years. That is the biggest cause of death. Am I correct? Please find out. The biggest source of low life expectancy in poor countries is high infant mortality and child mortality rates. Many people die before they reach 1 year or before they reach 5 years. That is the biggest cause. So if you want to increase life expectancy in Uganda and any other poor country, please address the issue of child mortality. Now let me come to child mortality and how it is related to water, and how we don't seem to understand that. The biggest cause of death in child and infant mortality is infectious diseases. Tuberculosis, diarrhea, infectious diseases. Water is a major factor in hygiene. And if you have the right, then they call them what, worms in the stomach. The biggest sources of death for young kids are those infectious diseases. Now, I can see some Muzungu people here. I hope they come from rich countries. How many are there? A few of them. Let me tell you, in rich countries, the biggest source of death is chronic diseases. Cancer, hypertension, which is high blood pressure, diabetes, heart attack, strokes. Those are the biggest cause of death. But for us, it is infectious diseases. For them, it is chronic diseases. Let me tell you another statistic. If you look at the sources of death in poor countries, they are largely of kids. In rich countries, they are largely of old people. People above 60 die more. Okay, I have to finish what I'm saying. People above 60 die in large numbers. They contribute about 2/3 of death or something like that. In poor countries, 2/3 of death is a result of these young kids. So, water is important because it sits at the most, rather it contributes significantly to child and infant mortality. And if we have to improve life expectancy, we need to control the number of people who die when they are young, and to control them, one of the things we need to do, of course, is vaccination. Another is other aspects of hygiene, and one of the main aspects of hygiene is improved access to water sources. Let me, because I'm told that my time has ended, I did not know. You know, I'm an old man. My memory is like that of a cockroach. It lasts 8 seconds. So when they gave me 5 minutes, I thought I had 100 minutes, which is 1 hour and something. But what I can say about Uganda and its planning, I think that the government of Uganda has a minimum interest in water, but the institutions of the state of Uganda have high capabilities in the delivery of water. National Water and Sewerage Corporation, which is the best water utility in Africa, was in 23 towns in 2012. 5 years now, they're in 171 towns. They had owned about 6,000 kilometers of pipes. Now they have about 11,000 kilometers of pipes, but they're planning to reach about 20,000, rather 30,000 kilometers of pipes by 2020. That is ambitious. Our output of water, which has been about 180 cubic meters of water per day, is going to, the capacity is going to be increased to about 500,000 in the next 3 years, which is a great thing. But this is happening because we have, not because the guys at the National Planning Authority and the guys in the government have planned it. It's simply that for some historical reasons, an institution evolved that has high levels of competence called National Water and Sewerage Corporation, and is able to fix the water problems without much political interference. Thank you so much for listening to an old man.
That's Mwenda for you. I had a few giggles when he came up here, and I actually saw the Honorable Minister of Water laughing out loud at some of your statistics. I look at you and wonder, Andrew, how do you keep all that data? That's what we call it at home. How do you have so much data in your small head? Thank you very much. Once again, we are still here at WaterAid. I hope you're tweeting, #WashStrategyUG. We are running live at NTV Uganda. And without much ado, we're going to proceed. Probably at a later time, Andrew Mwenda will come back and tell us more about his global thoughts on some poor Muzungus, like he likes to call them, the ones who we think are actually rich Muzungus. He will tell us more about that when we get a broader perspective of water, sanitation, and hygiene. But we will ask Kwela to just give us a breather and allow Andrew's hard facts to actually sink in. And then we'll move to the next presentation, which will be given to us by a man that I will introduce to you in a short while. Kwela Band, please give us a little one in about 3 minutes. Thank you. Help me to thank Kwela. Amazing sounds from Kwela. We've had it from Vision 2040, the plan for Uganda in the next few years. And now we would like to listen from a man who is well-traveled and also well-learned, an environmental health expert with vast experience in primary health, child protection, food security, livelihoods, and so many other things. He has worked in Uganda, in Kenya, in Tanzania, in Ethiopia, in the UK, and currently is serving WaterAid as the Regional Director of East Africa. I would like to invite Paul Obura, our Regional Director, to come and link the coverage of and access to water, sanitation, and hygiene to the wider development question. Welcome with me, Paul Obura.
I guess what she has forgotten to say is that I was born on the eastern side of this same lake. This lake that hugs the very foundations of your glorious city, your city that I've come to love very much because of what it provides, basically fish. This is the lake that has taken the name of a queen who ruled a small island 6,000 kilometers away, but the lake that my grandmother fondly called Lolwe. That's Lake Victoria for you. I think she also forgot to say that she talked about what I've learned and where I've traveled to. But I think my most memorable to me, my biggest success is passing through primary school in a school called Masogo, somewhere south of Kisumu town, and passing it 6 inches shorter than most of the boys in the school just because of infestation of worms. I lived with them. I'm sorry, I don't live with them anymore. And the most important thing is that when I joined this primary school, we were 50% girls and boys. When I left the primary school, there were only 5 girls in my class. The reasons why that was so, many people around this house know. Allow me to start properly. Guest of honor, sir, the Minister of Water, Environment, representative of the head of the EU delegation, members of the Guest House of the People, the National Assembly of the Republic of Uganda. I also recognize the presence of the honorable members of key committees of the Parliament, the committees of Health, Natural Resources, the Budget, and Water and Sanitation and Hygiene. Representative of the diplomatic and the donor community, representatives of the Ministry of Health, Urban Planning, Education, Water and Environment, Gender, and the Kampala City Authority. Representatives of the local government, representatives of private sector, the media and the academia, civil society colleagues and partners, country director of WaterAid, and your esteemed efficient and effective staff who have hosted me since yesterday very, very well. Other invited guests, all protocol observed. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Guests of honor, sir, I stand here to represent WaterAid, an international organization that was founded 35 years ago. This is a global federation with membership from Austria, Australia, United Kingdom, Japan, United States of America, Canada, India, and Sweden, and exploring pathways for southern countries' membership as well. Water aid in the past 5 years reached 21 million and 18 million people with water and sanitation, respectively. In this region, we have 36 years of history, so just as long as water aid has lived, with a noticeable footprint in Rwanda, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, and of course also Ethiopia. Our global strategy was launched last year, the year before last, and it informs the strategy we are just about to launch. Guests of honor, sir, since 1981, we have worked in different formations from direct project implementation to working through partnerships with Ugandan and international development and humanitarian organizations, and in collaboration with the civil society, national and local government authorities in this country. Many things have changed. In water aid itself, we have changed where we work in Uganda. We have changed the populations we serve. Our program content has changed. But the context itself, the Ugandan context, has changed too. The government since 1981 has changed. That can be said. The economy has grown, and population growth has happened, among other things that have changed. But some things haven't. Some things have refused to change, particularly in water aid. We have maintained a single focus on water, sanitation, and hygiene. And we have consistently said that so many people remain without access to basic services of water, sanitation, and hygiene, and that this, in post-independent East Africa, is a tragedy and an indictment of our human development planning and state prioritization processes. We've consistently said that. That hasn't changed. We have consistently invested in capacity building of partners and communities to deliver and sustain life and life-changing services for the rural and, in the later part of our presence here, the urban poor and marginalized communities. That has not changed. We have maintained strong partnerships at national and local government levels with your ministry, the guest of honor, sir, and other line ministries. Our strong presence in the civil society at the national level, where we have remained an influential member of USNet. Our strong working collaboration with local, but also with district level executive structures and political structures through the local leadership councils. I have myself had the privilege of meeting and having quite enriching discussions with different levels of local councils, from LC1 to LC5. And also, I've had a chance to meet the cows too. That too has not changed. We have remained strong, credible, effective, and honest member of the civil society. In that position, we have made our contribution to changing lives of those who live in the fringes of society, those who are often not thought of first when development resources become available. That too has not changed. We have delivered services to those who need it most. In the 35 years that we have been here, we have reached about a conservative total of 2 million people with water, sanitation, spending a total of about 7.5 billion Ugandan shillings every year over the last 10 years alone. That's a modest figure, but a respectable one for a mid-sized organization such as ours. Guest of honor, sir, we are very pleased that our strategy paper, the Water Aid Uganda Country Strategy 2016-2021, comes with your full state blessing, and you have taken your precious time to lead its launch. It is a testament of your government's commitment to harness every material, technical, and human capital possible to achieve its ambitious target of 100% coverage as contained in your Vision 2040 blueprint and broken down in successive 5-year national development plans. In principle and spirit, Water Aid shares these aspirations with you. But even further, we believe in and hygiene facilities and services for everyone everywhere in the world is possible in our time and in our lifetime. We have aligned ourselves to the Sustainable Development Goals agenda and fully ascribe to the attainment of Goal 6 on water, sanitation, and hygiene. It is in this belief and conviction that we have developed our mantra, everyone, everywhere by 2030. But guest of honor, sir, allow me to challenge the state position on wash development. Your ministry and the wider sector in this country have remained true to this belief and has remained committed to the goal of achieving 100% coverage by the year 2040, despite the stagnating progress in this area. This is all good. You have remained true to the Millennium Development Targets, and over the lifetime of the MDGs, and the MDGs have consistently informed your sector effort. That too is good. Your ministry has consistently set ambitious development targets. With a current national population of 35 million, you are aiming to reach everyone in 23 years' time. With a population growth rate of just north of 3%, this means you will need to reach 30 million more people between now and the 1st of January 2040. 1.5 million people each year on average. This is well beyond the sector's current throughput of 700,000 people per year. But this too is all good. It is good because despite the challenges I have highlighted, it demonstrates your ministry's and your own leadership courage, but also commitment to connecting the Ugandan part of the national tragedy, for correcting the Ugandan part of the regional strategy I spoke about before. But guest of honor, sir, 100% coverage and universal access that the Sustainable Development Goals speak about are not one and the same. 100% coverage, which your blueprints talk about, means that everyone has water as a water point somewhere around where they work, where they live, or where they study. Or probably I may add where they play too. But universal access means that everyone actually uses safe water every time he feels like doing so, and with relative ease wherever they are, and at a cost and a price they can afford. 100% coverage means everyone has been taught the principles of good hygiene and that they can be able to recite them. But universal access, on the other hand, means everyone practices good hygiene behavior all the time and has the facilities and services to help them do so. Universal access no longer relies on percentages. It means that no one individual is left behind. It means no woman, no child, no elderly person, no remote district that everyone knows exists, but no one cares to go there, urban, poor community, or any other person is left behind. From Kabale to Kaabong, from Moyo to Toro. That's what universal access means. This is the height of the world's ambition. To achieve this, guest of honor, sir, to achieve these ambitious targets, some things have to happen. Decision making will need to be more timely and based on the most accurate information possible. The district capacity for all the 111 or 112 districts, wherever you are, depending on where you're standing, that make up Uganda, will need to improve in service provision and management. Sustainability of investment will have to be the key agenda for all local government authorities. A national mechanism will have to be in place that ensures that there is always some wash services for all Ugandans and not all services for some sections of the population. Urban wash development will need to be better planned, better managed, with better resource management, and better equipped and trained utility staff. Climate variability and adverse effects of global warming will no longer be just another inconvenience that we wish away in the wash sector, but a contextual reality for development which is part and parcel of how we think, how we plan, what we do, and how it is all done. The voice of everyone, especially the quietest, such as women of childbearing age, such as school-going children, the voices of menstruating girls, those without sanitation information and consumables, must be heard, and if decisions and investments that we make are to be truly inclusive. The sector has to recognize the value of interdependence in development, health, education, agriculture, and livestock, rural development, finance and economic cooperation, and other sectors must not only understand but also invest in achieving their own WASH targets, not just their sector targets, but their WASH targets too. Resourcing and financing must align the best and the most value for money with the most time and the best human resources available. And finally, non-traditional actors must be encouraged and supported to engage with the WASH discourse and also to invest in WASH. Such groups such as the Uganda Women's Network, the private sector, Forum for African Women Educationists, among others, need to be brought on board and in the discussion. Guest of honor, sir, this is why WaterAid Uganda in the next 4 or so years aims to work to ensure these 3 things. That those who live in the margins of the society because of gender, geography, age, and other barriers, especially women and girls, are no longer passive participants in development discourse that affect them directly, but that their word becomes part and parcel of the information that directs development, prioritization, and processes. That districts, regions, national state institutions build effective and sustainable WASH and development systems and technologies that ensure national policy and sector direction is influenced from the bottom up and no one is left behind. That the water, sanitation, and hygiene sector takes its rightful place in national planning and resource allocation, and that the sector's contribution to national development is properly recognized in word and in deed. Guest of honor, sir, but there is more that your sector and the wider government can do to alleviate wash suffering across our region and our continent. Your pioneering engagement with the sector-wide approaches in your national sector development and pro-poor urban approaches have been models to many a nation. They may now need to be rethought and reloaded to retain their cutting edge and their international appeal. You remain a key and a leading partner in the Pan-African thinking and movement. Your partnership with other countries through IGAD or through bilateral development initiatives can be readily turned into positive political influence for water, sanitation, and hygiene. With this, Ugandan wash narrative can remain a learning point for many countries across this region and beyond. WaterAid Uganda program and my regional office will continue to work very closely with you in our effort to realize these aspirations. It is a resolve we have made in this region to work with governments as best as we can, because this is the only way to achieve scale and sustainability of development in this century. We believe this is the right reading of the political economy of our region. I thank you. God bless WaterAid, God bless Uganda, and God bless East Africa. Thank you.
If you may, kindly, another round of applause for Paul Obura. If not for anything, at least that he pays me, yeah? Yeah, he pays my salary, so I have to say only good things about him. But he is indeed a very good speaker, he's an orator, and a development expert. So we have had it from the broader perspective, and we have had people speak, like Paul said, because they have studied these things. They've spent a lot of time learning how to do WASH. But there are people, even in this room, who do things because they have a passion for them. And at WaterAid, we believe that actually every drop counts. And in saying every drop counts, we mean that your voice, your opportunity, your small contribution actually counts, regardless of where you work, regardless of what you do, regardless of whether you're the minister, whether you're the reverend, like Reverend Wasa over there, whether you're the director, like Mr. Mukunda over there, it doesn't matter really who you are. And so I would like to invite a person who I believe is just a person, but is doing amazing things to make sure that everybody, everywhere, has access to water, sanitation, and hygiene. Actually, not just everybody, but the little girl there that somebody spoke about. I think that little girl that was like Spera when she was young, yeah, who doesn't know what to do when things happen at school. So I will invite somebody who is not new to us, who is very well known to us and well loved, Mrs. Barbara Chagulanyi. Please. Barbara is not only a well-loved celebrity, but she's also an executive director of Caring Hearts Uganda. And Caring Hearts Uganda has done very amazing things for girls to make sure that they have water and sanitation. Barbara, this is your space. Tell us your story.
Thank you, Naomi. I don't know why you placed me in this place to speak after everybody said all the sensible stuff. Now I'm going to sound unexperienced. Don't mind my English. I started speaking English in my primary 7. So in case I say wrong words, please understand. My name is Barbara Chagulanyi, Mrs. I am a mother of 4. I am married to what most people call the ghetto president. He is seated right there. He introduced me to the ghetto and everything else that surrounds it. I work with Caring Hearts Uganda. That's an NGO which I started with friends, and all of us have the same thing that motivates us. We come from villages. I'm called a village girl because I grew up in the village, studied in the village, and came to Kampala in my senior 4. What motivated me to go into sanitation and especially look at the girl child out there? My inspiration is about how I grew up, the surrounding around me, and what is still happening back where I grew up from. My family background, I grew up from a pastoral area where we raised cattle, and my maiden name is Itungo. Itungo means wealth, and in my area it means very many cattle. Now in my area, to have very many cattle, you must have very many daughters. Having many daughters means very, very soon in future you'll have very many cattle, because it's an exchange. I give you my daughter and you give me your cows. Well, in our area, girls fetch water. They still do. Our time, we walked a long distance to fetch water. We fetched water in the same place where cows drank from. We still do. I was home 2 weeks ago, so I know what I'm talking about. And in this place is where men kidnapped girls for marriage. They still do the same. Only that this time, when they kidnap you, they take you to a clinic and check you for HIV. That's the difference that there is. Now, when I reached where I am, people here say I'm a celebrity, and I started believing it. And I think I am, because they follow me, they listen to what I say. And I said, okay, I am not the Kampala girl that is going to undress and dance on the dance floor, but I can make a small difference. What difference can I make? I thought about the girl who comes from where I come from, because I would want this Kampala to be infested with the girls like me. Well, I thought, what are the problems that girls like me face? I looked around how I grew up. Most of the girls did not make it to senior 2. My parents were fortunate, they went to school. They took me to good schools. My friends did not make it to secondary school. They are now grandmothers. Yes, they are. And I can say it again. They are now grandmothers. They were married off because they did not go to school. They menstruated early, stayed home those 4 days, and their parents saw potential in them. They took them out for marriage. They are now grandmothers. It hurts me that when I go back home, most of the people that I know very well do not think on the level that I do. We do not have much to talk about. Now, I do not want their children and their daughters to go through the same cycle. I think we make a difference as individuals. I do not have support from anyone else. My husband is just a singer, and he works at night. Some people think he sings well and they give him some tips when he's on stage singing. But we can make of something small from what he makes. We believe we are the change that we need around us. If we want to change the world, you begin with what is around you. I work in the ghetto. Our office is right at the biggest channel of Kampala, where all the sewage comes. That's where we sit. That's where our office is. Yes, I have to say this because that's where we work. I have seen the section of the ghetto and I have seen the section of the village. So I know very well what happens in the slum and I know very well what happens in the village. We believe that if we combine our energies, we can make a difference in all angles. If we teach each other, each one teach one. If I stand and teach that girl child that, you know what, when you're menstruating, you have to clean yourself this way and you have to do this and the other. we make a change. And we believe that the little we can do, we must do, because it is our responsibility to change the environment around us. What did I do? I thought and looked at the aunties of mine, what they used to do when they were menstruating. They made sanitary pads with their own hands, and they went to school. I have a technique which worked for them, and I think it went through their mothers. And I am sure that if we pass it on, it can go on and on and on and on, since families and home is a place where we learn things. I started teaching these girls how to make their own sanitary pads. We go to schools, in villages, put together girls, and teach them how to knit with their own needles and thread and material. The register showed that girls reach school late. Of course, they are fetching water to leave home. And the girls left school earlier because they have to go home early and clean. The girls missed school more than the boys, and they had a particular period of time when they missed school. In this very school we did, it is, I'm sorry I did not say honorable so-and-so. I'm sorry I did not observe protocol. I'm very sorry. I apologize sincerely. But I have a request. Would we please look into going to those schools, handwork time? What happened to handwork? We learned how to knit, how to make mats, and how to make brooms in school. When I'm knitting my husband's button on a shirt, I learned that from school, handwork time. Can we please have a moment during handwork to learn how to make our own reusable sanitary pads? As we wait for bigger things to happen, I will insist. I will invite my husband. He is one person I have learned a lot from. He may be just a ghetto boy, but birds of the same feather flock together. I have learned being selfless from him, because he has very many relatives and very many friends in the ghetto. You can't send them away. They're always around. So there is a lot they learn from us. I'll ask him to come and say just a single word to us, if you please allow him.
Thank you. Now you caused me problems, yeah? I really feel preempted by this lady. I don't think I have so much useful stuff to add. I just appreciate the fact that I have the honor of being a husband. I mean, she transformed me. I'm even wearing a suit. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, otherwise known as Bobby Wine, the proud husband of this brain and a ghetto child. Like she told you, I live a very informal life. I come from the ghetto. Please don't go. You give me confidence, you know. Yeah, I lived that life. For those of you who knew me much earlier, I was this ragamuffin, this guy known for violence and madness and everything. That was my age. I appreciate it. But along the way, as we grow up, we realize that life is pushing us on the edge of responsibility, and our people are looking at no other than us to cause the change. Like my wife said, I find myself lots of words when I'm speaking in front of the important people, and having had the beautiful presentation, especially by Mr. Mwenda, giving us all the details of how we're progressing and how many miles and thousands of kilometers covering the country. It's interesting, although it still baffles my ghetto mind, why in the ghetto a jerrycan that used to be of 50 shillings today is 1,000 shillings. I don't know, but maybe because I'm not so much educated. And Mr. Mwenda talked about the mortality rate that is caused by infectious diseases. I was working with Save the Children some 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and the mortality rate for mothers was 16 women every day dying, and 282 children. Unfortunately, today we lose 327 children daily. They died yesterday, they're dying today, and they're dying tomorrow. Continues, 18 women every day, and so on. So it challenges me. I don't know how it works in the educated world, but in the realistic world, in the ghetto, I realize that a few solutions can be carved out by us. I mean, if we empower the people with the confidence to believe that they can transform the circumstances around them and they can bring the solutions, and we only need to do that by going there and speaking in local languages, and pushing more to have more confidence in the leaders. Unfortunately, we don't have LCs who have power in our rural areas and the ghetto. LCs only serve when it's time to sell land. Yeah. But back then, when I was growing up, I mean, it's the LC's responsibility. A chairman or defense or whatever had the power to mobilize or force people out of their houses to come and maintain a source of water and something. So these are the few common things that we try to do with my wife, with a few resources that we do. And it's my prayer that the authorities and those in the offices of influence can look at those small solutions and empower them. As we always say, each one teach one and each one reach one. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And I also apologize for not observing protocol. We guys are so informal. We don't normally operate or work in clean and formal places like this. Our work is so in the ghetto. So you will please pardon our informality. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, on my behalf and my wife's behalf. And on that note, I would like to request Kwera to give us a small entertainment. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you indeed. Go ahead and clap those hands. Clap them. Yeah. I love the feel of music. There's something music does to you. And when when Bobby came here, I was hoping, actually was really hoping, but the night is still young, yeah? That break was intentional to allow those words sink in, yeah? Was anybody about to cry? I saw Miss Halima Namakula pull out her hanky. She actually cried when Barbara spoke. Is there another person who felt like I felt? I think they are there, especially the gentlemen, but they are shy to let us know that they were actually going to cry. And to allow those words sink in and really reflect and see what each one can do, each one of us can do. There's even more. There's opportunity everywhere. And so while I was there looking at Bobby and Bobby, that's actually what I do, really. Starstruck, that's all I do. Just look at them, I'm looking. But only one word sank in, only one of all that you said, influence. Influence is just around you, is just next door. And so I would like to introduce to you a man who, on a daily basis, and I have some witnesses in the house, pounds into our heads something that he has passionately come to call the power of one. This man will tell you on a daily that there's that one important thing that you can do. And so even today, I told him that I wouldn't do this. And he told me that that is one. And you have that power of one to go and do it. This man is actually a trained, experienced, and well-traveled water engineer. He's a health expert. He's a development expert. But that's not what he does most of the time. This man actually likes to spend most of his time leading and telling people that he meets that you have the power to change the world. And this man has made his many contributions, small steps, big steps, broad steps, all over East Africa, all over Africa, and all over the world, changing lives through water and sanitation. But above all, being a leader and teaching people servant leadership. This man is none other than the country director of Water Aid Uganda, who I have the humility and the pleasure to invite to come and speak to us and tell us really what Water Aid is doing, apart from eating food at Serena. Enjoy your soup. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome with me, Engineer Francis Musinguzi.
Thank you so much, MC. Thank you everybody for coming. The Right Honorable Prime Minister, as represented by my Honorable Minister of Water, representatives of diplomatic missions, the Honorable Members of Parliament who are in the House, development partners in your capacities, representatives of different missions of government, CSOs, private sector, everybody want to honor the fact that you came today to stand with us, to celebrate not our strength, but stories of failures, stories of trials, and stories of success that are going to give us the momentum for the next 15 years, 30 years, 100 years, and a better future for generations to come. I usually like to speak with a lot of strength, but this evening I'm humbled when I hear the stories moving around the room, starting with Spera falling in a well, getting down to the NDP, getting down to Paul, all the way from Kenya, giving the same stories of girls dropping out of school and only 5 remaining. And I know there are many, many, many more stories. And as a leader, and I believe as many leaders you are in this room, that does touch our hearts. The stories from the ghetto, that does cut our hearts. And it would only be inhuman and insensitive to just let things go by. And it is with that same background that when I was sent to Uganda the first thing I looked at is the water aid strategy. I said we cannot stay disconnected from reality. Whatever it takes, days and nights, we must live to respond to this reality. The reality of these girls, we cannot wait anymore. We would rather lose everything we have, but save the future of these little girls and these mothers who are dying in the health facilities for reasons that are preventable. We have spoken the English, we have learned the lessons, it's now time to act. That's why it has taken us long to work through and get this strategy to this date. I therefore want to request you to first of all allow me to request the team that developed this strategy to come forward, Spera and your team, and I first honor you. Because as a country director, I had the passion, I had the pain, but I didn't have the methods and the means. But there are people that spend sleepless nights to develop this strategy that brings us all together to say, we cannot stay down anymore. We must rise, we must stand, we must align, we must respond. Please do come forward. Because my standing here would not have been without the success of such great ladies and gentlemen, people that leave their families behind and spend time with very little payment to do this great work that we see. Please do join me with a thunderous clap and appreciate them. I will ask that you clap for them once again. Please do help me appreciate them. This great team has spent sleepless nights. I cannot describe, I cannot name them, but you really know that I honor you, I respect you, and every morning that I wake up, I think about you. The money you're paid is nothing. But the task that you're giving, even when water aid has passed, you will stand. I want to invite Joanne, who left us and took another employment. I walked her to her next job. You will rise when you serve in the right way. And I speak that to everybody here. Joanne, much as you left, you are still part of this great story. And you're an ambassador of WASH. And we honor you. Keep growing higher. I know you'll be the CEO next of that organization. You can take your seats. Thank you very much. And thank you for allowing me to take that second. Mr. Paul Obura from the regional team and Jessica. I want to tell you everything I send, much as I sit in these regional meetings, it's done by these great teams. Thank you very much. I would want to ask my wife to come forward because we are people with hearts. We put on a suit, you wake up and come to office early, but I leave somebody home, she comes with me, she prays with me in the morning, she encourages me when times are hard. I want to honor this lady with all my heart and with all that I can ever hope to have. Thank you so much for being the dream of my life, for being my encouragement. And much as I'm not beautiful, for showing everybody that at least he has a beautiful wife. Please take your seat. And because of you, we shall fight for every woman. We shall fight for every girl. We will make sure that this country reaches its true aspirations. Ladies and gentlemen, I will not take a lot of time through the speeches because all has been said. The global picture, commitments that our presidents make in Washington, we have had an opportunity of being in some of these big meetings. WaterAid has supported high-level meetings that bring together presidents and ministers, signing commitments and saying that we will make sure that no child dies, no other mother dies because of preventable diseases. The Vision 2040 that has been read very well and presented, it says the same aspirations, and we have a vision in Uganda. I honor the men and women who put together that vision, transforming this country from being a peasant country to a modern and prosperous country. It is a head toll, it's a high toll, I know our country is not rich, but tell me somebody who has no money but with a vision, he's a rich man. A country like Uganda with such a vision is a rich country. Let us come together and work together. We shall achieve these aspirations. I know that water aid comes in as a change agent. We are just a drop in the ocean. But we want to give all we have. We want to give our best. That we may work with government as the main sector. Through our civil society network, UASNet, and all the partners around, and development partners, that we may reach all these stories and cause a change. Therefore, the vision that we want to see, that is what we envisage. Vision gives you command of the future. Vision gives you purpose. Vision gives you control. We want to see that water, sanitation, and hygiene are recognized as a driver within the development discourse. That when the budgets are being discussed, my honorable members of parliament, I know that you've done so much. When these budgets are being discussed on the floor of parliament, remember that the girls, the women are dying. We are losing potential because we've not recognized the centrality of WASH in the development discourse. And number two, and much more painful, is that these are human beings. We like to discuss numbers. As an engineer, we like to discuss figures, 70% access, 20% access. But every girl that is dying is a human being. The right to water is constrained in our constitution, well mentioned. We are saying attention must be paid to the WASH rights, especially of the people that we easily forget, the poor and marginalized. And much more so, within that category, the women and the girls. This is what we would want to see our country doing. This is where we would want to spend all our energy and thinking. This is where we want to spend all our investments. The vision is big, it's ambitious, and I know that in your folders, you'll have these books to read. We want to start with you on this journey, but it's divided in 3 programs, which are heavy for us. We cannot stand alone. We appreciate that we need partnerships to be able to do this. And these 3 programs are described. 1 is that voice may come back to this girl who is in the ghetto. If she cannot speak, let us stand and speak for her. If she does not have the numbers, let us spend nights and get her the numbers. Honorable Minister Mongin, on the floor of parliament, you are not speaking for yourself. You're speaking for this girl. Let that voice come back to life. Let the offices we have as water aid and all the offices we have in this room, let's open them to these girls and boys. Let them come in and be empowered. That's why we're here. The second program is to understand the positioning of WASH in economic development. Uganda's Vision 2040, page 63, page 64, page 67. I like page 93, paragraph 264. Uganda's emphasis is committed to the retention of girls in school. That must happen. Our understanding of WASH in economic development is well enshrined in our constitution and our vision. And that's why, as Water Aid, we are saying we don't have so much, but we have the passion, we have the connectivity, we have the hearts to understand that our global presence in 38 countries is not to make us powerful, is not to make us look smart, but to make us understand the reality and come down and help everybody that needs us. And the last part is the understanding that development works in a system. Our government is trying, the private sector is working. From Barbara's story, your investment is working. We want to have more people investing into WASH. As a husband, as a father, and as a leader, I want to ask every man in this room, let us spend more time at home to appreciate the challenges of WASH within our homes. That when our girls are going to school, we shall not leave it for the mothers. Let's engage in this discussion. Let's empower them. The word father means source in Greek. Father gives esteem. Let us speak to our daughters. Let us be the men we should be in our homes. It is a system that works together at our family, as leaders in the local governments, and up to the topmost offices. And as I come to the conclusion, we understand that the whole triangle that affects us in a home is so big. When I wake up in the morning, and I believe everybody in this room, especially in a place like Serena, when I wake up in the morning, I go to the sink, I brush my teeth, I go to the bathroom and I bathe. Sometimes I didn't like that, but my wife would remind me gently. The bathroom is just next to our bedroom. The toilet is next to our bedroom. And the kitchen is just a few meters from our bedroom. It is easy, and I get in the car and I drive to work. But 78% of the women out here, when she wakes up, her bathroom is 100 meters away. Her kitchen, she has to go to get firewood 3 kilometers. 2 times, that is 6 kilometers. For her to get water, Barbara said it, Spera said it, she goes to the well 2 kilometers. I know that we are trying, the statistics are increasing, but there is no way we can achieve the aspirations in our vision unless this triangle is reduced, unless that distance is reduced, unless the health facilities have running water, unless the schools have facilities for managing menstrual hygiene, unless the gardens have enough water for irrigation. That is our triangle for the woman. And these are our key asks. As water aid, if you asked me tonight, the few questions I'm asking the government and everybody who is here, development partners, let us keep our girls in school. Let us support menstrual hygiene management within the school. Let us have these discussions within our homes. As water aid, we shall provide every analysis and knowledge required to make this a reality. Let us emphasize public health. I know for the last 3 years, I was discussing with the Minister of Health last 2 weeks, and she committed that they have put together a directorate of public health. But I'm saying by the aspirations of this country, we should have more investment in preventive health than curative health. It is cheaper. The third one is that let us have regulation in place. Your Excellency Bobby Wine, the ghetto president, by every protocol when you're president, you don't have to recognize anyone. So you could have been right. When you talk about a jerrycan of water costing 1,000 shillings, I do understand what it means. My brother and senior colleague Engineer Ambayo have tried so much with the national water, and we have worked with them to have proper facilities. But I know we still have a question of tariff regulation. What you presented is right. It is a challenge before us, and it needs to be addressed. We need to have regulation so that we have prices that can be afforded by the poor. When we're working in the city, we work with Jennifer Musisi and her team in KCCA, and we are working with them to put together strategies and plans that we can use to reach the poor. There are shared bathrooms in the slums, and when these shared bathrooms are used, women are raped, families are split, domestic violence, HIV/AIDS, the story can go on. We cannot achieve these statistics. We cannot achieve these aspirations unless we pay attention to the marginalized and the poor. And therefore, that's why I'm saying let us focus not only on the development of becoming a middle-income country, but let us focus on making sure no one is left behind. I want to ask you, everybody who is in this room, that your presence here is evidence enough that you are a partner with us on this journey. We have development partners who have funded most of our work. I can mention them by name, but I'm saying everybody in this room, your presence is witness that you are a partner with us. Let's work together to make this dream a reality. And finally, thank you so much for coming. I want to conclude with those few words. And I want to invite my friend who is representing the head of delegation for the EU to give his few remarks connected to the same story of partnerships. We cannot stop. We shall stay awake, we shall work hard until every girl stays in school, until every child in the ghetto fulfills their true potential. That is the question of leadership, and that is why we are here. So allow me and join me to welcome the representative of the head of delegation of EU. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister of Water and Environment, Mr. Sam Cheptoris, Honorable Ministers present, colleagues from the Diplomatic Corps, Honorable Members of Parliament, members of local government and civil society, country director, and staff from WaterAid Uganda and beyond, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. The ambassador was hosting a dinner tonight. That's why he could not join. He would have liked to join. Now I realize that he could have had his dinner and come for the second dinner with us. I will tell him what he missed. Honorable Minister, it's not very fair towards you and I, given the fact that the main meal is coming now. Our neighbors might pick in our plates. So I would like to suggest that you keep an eye on mine while I'm speaking, and I promise to do the same when it's your turn to speak. It's a pleasure to represent the European Union at the launching of this event. As here in this room, we all know water is a basic human need, essential to life. Clean water and sanitation are one of the key sustainable development goals as defined by the United Nations to be attained in 2030. Today, 800 million people still lack safe drinking water worldwide and 2.5 billion sanitation. Each day, nearly 1,000 children die due to preventable water and sanitation-related diseases, a significant part of them in Africa. If we consider the size of this city, for example, Kampala is projected to double, the population is projected to double over the coming decade. Whether its inhabitants will enjoy a healthy and prosperous life or live in urban slum and misery without access to basic services, as was mentioned before, this depends on a proper governance and strategic planning of water and sanitation infrastructure investment, operation and maintenance. Government will probably need to think of ways to ease demographic pressure on scarce natural resources, dramatic in the water sector. I'm sorry the speech is a bit formal, and I've heard so many entertaining and social speeches. I would blame WaterAid, who didn't tell us the content of what was expected. So I will try to go as fast as possible to make it at least not boring for too long, but since the main course hasn't come yet, I think you can still listen to me a few minutes. But I will try to go faster. Honorable Minister, we were together when the Gaba station was inaugurated by President Museveni 1 or 2 months ago, I think. This is a project that was supported by the European Union, I mean the European Commission, but also the member states, France, which is represented here, Germany, and under this project, which is called the Lake Victoria Watson project, EU as a whole has mobilized 212 million euros, which is 814 billion Ugandan shillings, in a mix of loans and grants, the biggest project that we've had in the recent years in the sector. This project stands out as a major intervention for the last 20 years and most likely for the 20 years to come as well. Now there is still a need for strategic planning to link future demand and supply. Some of the salient points raised in the strategy presented today by WaterAid are still of a particular interest. The question of the supply is, of course, central with the demographic pressure I was mentioning before, but obviously the investment will always struggle to reach the number of newborns every year. So how to address that? The money will probably always be a challenge. We've seen that the water and sanitation budget for for this year, at least the one which is supposed to be approved very soon, experiences a reduction of 14% compared to 2016-17. Facing this reality, how and the pressure on the different stakeholders, how to deal with the sector. With regard to the focus on WaterAid's strategy, we note the intention of WaterAid to work as a catalyst in order to trigger political action and effective decision-making for the WASH sector in Uganda. This is welcome and quite important for us, as evidenced by the just concluded WASH project funded by the EU. The strategy gives appropriate importance to knowledge acquisition and management, which will be key in achieving the objective of the strategy. I have cut down a few parts. I think you might not be too interested, so let me go to the conclusion. I have no wife to bring now, unfortunately. Next year, when WaterAid organizes the same kind of dinner, I will make sure I don't come on my own, so that I can maybe try to be a bit more entertaining in a way. So I will conclude, if you allow me, on my own. I want to commend WaterAid for preparing this strategy together with the government of Uganda, and for all their effort in the sector, and specifically the good collaboration with the European Union in the various action in the sector in Uganda. Thank you very much.
Interesting. Thank you very, very much. That was Mr. Morel, a representative from the European Union. I do have a husband, but at the right opportunity, I'll bring him here and show off. He's here with us. And indeed, we would like to say that at WaterAid, we do not do these things on our own, really. We wouldn't manage to do these things on our own. We do these things because we have push behind us. We have strong shoulders that we lean on. And a number of them really have come here, and you've seen them. And most of them are in this room, actually. I would like a special hand clap, really, for the development partners that we work with, that include the European Union, that include the French Embassy, that include DANIDA, that include a number of partners that actually give us the money that makes it possible for us to do this. Please help me clap for the European Union together with the partners that help us achieve the little milestones that have been spoken about. And so as we go to the highlight of the night, I would also like to recognize the presence of the people that have made our work really worth the while. There's a particular group of leaders that we work with. They are representatives of the people, voted by the people, but they have a special passion for WASH. These are members of parliament that have actually formed a forum that we call the PF Forum. Fondly, we call it the PF WASH, Parliamentary Forum for WASH. Please help me welcome Honorable Amongin Jacqueline, who is the chairperson of that forum, Honorable Francisco Nahasa, Honorable Olivia Katwesije. We really, really appreciate you. If you could stand up, and these people give you a big round of applause, because we know that in the midst of the 101 things you have to talk about in Parliament, you remember to talk about water and sanitation. We do not take it for granted. We know you are representatives, but it takes... Thank you very much. I believe, and these are my words, please, these are not the words of WaterAid. I believe that it takes courage to talk about shit. Yeah. Okay. All right. I would like to invite Kwela to quickly give us a quick one. Oh, are they far? we could actually invite the country director once again to come here. Maybe he can introduce to us his children. But really to play the major role of inviting the honorable guest of honor to do what brought us here. Francis.
Thank you very much, MC. Once again, I will take this single opportunity and also on behalf of WaterAid to thank you, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, as represented. And before I invite you, I know that the representative of the head of delegation, when he left, he said, when you come, he'll watch your food. I just want to give you confidence that my wife is very honest. And head of delegation, when you talked about the safety of food, I looked at my boss, the regional director, and I said that was a point of suspicion. But that notwithstanding is the partnership that we have shows you that we put government central, and we honor the fact that you're allowed to come and be our guest of honor. I know that you've been traveling and you had to cut short some of your trips, so we don't take that for granted. So please join me to welcome representative for the Right Honorable Prime Minister, who is our Honorable Minister of Water. Please put your hands together as he comes to the podium to give his remarks.
Thank you, Country Director. I want to tell my friend that I've also not come with my wife. So we are at par. Honorable members of Parliament, the Excellencies, the ambassadors, development partners, Country Director, WaterAid, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I bring the apologies from the Right Honorable Prime Minister, who has delegated me to represent him at this function. He had other duties elsewhere. Allow me to welcome all of you to this occasion when we launch WaterAid Uganda's country strategy 2016-2030. I congratulate WaterAid for reaching this important milestone. Today, as we launch this strategy, it gives me great honor to thank and welcome the contributions of our development partners, in particular WaterAid, towards delivering this country to a middle-income status through provision of water and sanitation services. We applaud the commendable efforts by WaterAid in its partnership with the government in its journey to transform a peasant nation into a modern and prosperous country. On behalf of the government of Uganda, allow me to convey the appreciation of His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, the NRM government, for these efforts that contribute to the prosperity of our people. Uganda Vision 2040 presents water development as a potential for stimulating socio-economic transformation. The vision recognizes the role of government in the provision of water and sanitation services to all parts of the country. Accordingly, the NRM government has been investing heavily in the improvement of water supply to the population of this country. The government of Uganda has made
good progress, and given the efforts of the current government, Uganda is on course to achieve universal access by 2040. All African governments and stakeholders must seize the moment and make this transformational change for the poorest and the most marginalized. No one must be left behind. We applaud WaterAid's history of work with us as a partner in development. Through this support, the water and environment sector has been sustainably and equitably transforming lives in almost all regions of Uganda. The government of Uganda also appreciates the support provided by WaterAid in a number of fields, which include, but not limited to, 1. Capacity building at various levels. 2. Technological innovations that have facilitated water for production and water resource utilization. Support for preparation and dissemination of support tools such as handbooks. Action research and testing of inclusive waste designs, which has provided useful lessons for improving sector performance monitoring. Support for the establishment of the Uganda Water and Sanitation NGO network, in brackets, UASNet, that has greatly contributed to sector policy development, capacity building, sector learning, and advocacy. Financial and technical support has been provided to various small towns in the Karamoja sub-region to develop physical and a land use plan which guide investment and resource allocations. Undertook research on the right to water and sanitation in Uganda, which has informed the revision of the National Water Policy and the Water Act. WaterAid also has supported cross-section coordination of WASH into the Ministries of Health and Education, as well as within Parliament of Uganda, Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, and the Prime Minister's Office. I wish to applaud the steps taken in the new strategy to make a case of WASH in our economic development agenda. We look forward to working with you at a time when we are revising our policy documents, working hard to instill efficiency in the sector, dealing with the droughts through provision of water for production and other issues related to climate change, and the need for appropriate technologies to deliver sustainable services to our people. On behalf of the government of Uganda, I wish to renew our commitment to continue supporting the efforts made by WaterAid and the other partners. It is now my thing. I will launch that one there. I will make that statement when I'm there. Now, these are the words of the Prime Minister. As the Minister of Water and Environment, I want to say how privileged I am to be here this evening. I have had passionate statements from our people with regard to water, sanitation, and hygiene, particularly for our lady folk. The children have been mentioned, our girls have been mentioned. I remember when I was in the primary school, we used to laugh at the girls who stained our desks. But now I begin to see how wrong we were. And when I hear passionate calls for the people of Uganda to look into some of these issues, I feel extremely encouraged. The Ministry of Water and Environment is grappling with a lot of issues. We are all aware of environmental degradation taking place. Our forests have been encroached on. Our wetlands have been encroached on by very greedy people. Riverbanks are being encroached on. And as a ministry, we are trying to stand on our feet and say enough is enough. I know Ugandans normally, particularly the press, make fun of us and say these ones are just talking, they don't act. But one of these days we shall grow teeth. And my teeth are growing very fast. So, very soon we shall get results. Some people have been talking about regulation in the water sector. As a ministry, we have been trying our best to see how to give access to the poor. In fact, we have a proper tariff. A jerrycan of water for the poor costs 50 shillings. I don't know whether it is being implemented, but that is the directive I gave. Bobby Wine, Your Excellency, I'm meeting you for the first time. President of the ghetto, Your Excellency, we are charging 50 shillings a jerrycan for your people in the ghetto. But we intend to even come down. In fact, we intend to even lower the price. We are thinking of coming down to almost 25 shillings a jerrycan. But that will be discussed with the management of National Water and Sewerage Corporation. Now, if we come down, it means somebody has to bear that reduction. We may have to give rich people like Bobby Wine to pay more, to subsidize. Sorry, madam. Madam is so. I apologize. But anyway, we shall discuss this with National Water and Sewerage Corporation, because as you are aware, water is a human right. All of us, whether poor or rich, must get access to safe and clean water. And it's the responsibility of government to ensure that all our people get access to clean and safe water. So somehow we shall have to come up with a formula to see that all our people, whether you are poor or you are rich, are provided with clean and safe water. I know time has gone. Today I was launching a water project in Butambala, a mega water project in Butambala, which is going to serve 40,000 people. Yesterday I was in Kayunga launching another big project by the NRM government. The other day I was in Bukpo launching another very big project. So this government is working. This government is working. For us, we are saying those who want to make noise, continue making noise. But for us, we are going to work. And we work every day, we work every night. Yes. So why don't you clap for that? I'm happy that Bobby Wine is clapping. So we shall continue ensuring that our people get access to clean and safe water. We are aware, for instance, as politicians, that one of the reasons why some of us members of parliament lose is because we have not provided our people with water. In fact, water is number one. Yes. Honorable Amongin, water is number one. And I'm very happy that my members of parliament are here to give us support. They are always very good in terms like, for instance, we have a committee on climate change. They are very active. They are now also extremely active in WASH activities. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to wish you a very good night, a very good evening, until we meet again. I only want to launch this, and then I go and sleep because I have a long day tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Yes, I've come back because we are running far behind schedule. I have decided, as an old man of the clan in Africa with respect age, to come and take over the emceeing of the event so that I can ensure that we keep in time. People are hungry and they eat immediately. Honorable Minister, thank you very much for that wonderful speech. I want to invite the ambassador of the EU, or his representative for that matter, the Director of Water Aid. I also want to invite Mr. Bura, and I want to invite you, the guest of honor, the Minister, to come and unveil the strategy. Please, you guys are not clapping for the Minister, the EU Ambassador's representative, the Director of Water Aid. Okay, is it because you're hungry? If you don't clap very hard and I feel impressed, I will not allow the dinner to be served. By the way, Bobby Wine, I want to inform you, contrary to what the Minister says, National Water and Sewerage Corporation sells a 20-liter jerrycan of water to poor people in the ghetto at 37 shillings, not 50, 37 shillings. At my home, I get it for 6 or 7 in the tap. That is the pricing. Now, this 1,000 you're talking about, it is I, as a vendor where there is no public water source, I go get water at 37, I drive it to your home and I sell it to you. Those vendors are exploiting you, but the public... Oh! That was amazing. Now, after this, I want all of you guys to have dinner. I am cutting out all other programs so that people can eat. So, Bobby, while you go sing this song, you go sing a song that water is 37 shillings. It is. If you go to a public water source, you buy at 37. You take it from me. If anyone charges you a price different, second, you're welcome. Okay, guys, I want us to begin eating. I have cancelled everything else. There are supposed to be guest gifts. But first and foremost, can people begin eating now? Okay, since it's a buffet, I want to invite the minister. That big table there. Naomi, can you please lead the minister, the representative of the EU ambassador, all other things I have stopped them for now to get to the buffet. Okay. Right now, go there. Okay, Honorable Minister, the EU ambassador's representative, Patrick, my grandson, Obura, Paul Obura, from my village in Kenya. You saw my name is very Kenyan. The table where I was seated, where is Sorwen, the police, the director of police? My son Canary, you can go quickly and have food. Where is the AIGP? Where is Mr. Sorwen here? Ah, the guy has left. I can see someone from counterterrorism police. Can you come and tell me where the AIGP is? He may have been kidnapped. These days, the police officers in this country are not safe. Come here. Where is Sorwen? Hey, are you taking care of him? Are you watching every place carefully? Good. Now you can go. David Saruka, Director of Public Health from KCCA, where is he? Can you come? Yes. I saw my friend from National Water. Please, first come here. First come here. This man is my very good friend. AIGP, please go for dinner. My brother from National Water, he's the Director of Operations, correct? This man is my friend. Me and him have been involved in water for a very long time. You see, this is the Deputy MD of National Water and Sewerage Corporation. Now, people may, I have been campaigning for you. Are you listening?
No.
Were you listening?
Yes.
So you realize that I am always doing your PR. Now, people may think that I get paid for this.
No, you have the fact.
As Deputy MD, can you ensure that I get a check so that people don't say, when you are paid by National Water?
No. You have the facts.
Okay. Come and we have food together.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're actually welcome to dinner. Quetta Band, if you could give us a good one. We already have the appetite, I can promise you that. The music will just help us enjoy the food more. Serena Hotel, thank you very much for the wonderful arrangement. Guest of honor, thank you very much for the wonderful job that you have done. Our guests, we are indeed very, very privileged that you've spent this evening with us. The night is still young. The night is indeed still young. I don't know. My son says, God said that 1,000 years are like an evening gold. Like me, I see a few hours we've been here and the time has run, but for God, 1,000 years is like one